episode of The Wealth of Nations. Today we're going to be talking about The Portal with Eric Weinstein. Weinstein, I apologize. Now, I was first cottoned on to Eric Weinstein many years ago, mainly with his brother Brett and the situation he found himself in as a university professor in hot water from the raging leftists who were not happy that he was opposed to their segregationist policies. And then in came Eric Weinstein, who's an intelligent man. I have no doubts about his intelligence at all. But this video is going to be a bit of a criticism for a particular podcast that he did with a porn star. I first heard about this podcast when I was watching the latest Joe Rogan Experience podcast that had Eric Weinstein on it. And he was talking a bit about it, so I was wondering, he was kind of touting it that his podcast was open to many different people and having many different discussions with people from all walks of life, and I was surprised to hear that he had a porn star on. And what he was saying about the porn star and her admirable qualities about rejecting the culture that encourages her to go plastic, to be fantastic, and to make lots of money. So she's rejected that. So he was praising her for that. So I thought to myself, as smart as Eric Weinstein is, and the topics that he explores on his podcast, I thought, why would he have a porn star on there? What would the discussion be like? And I must say, I was not impressed at all. I think there were some good things about it. I think the commitment that Eric Weinstein made to keep it above the belt, not to be too graphic or pornographic about the things that they were going to be discussing, was a good move. But as smart as Eric Weinstein is, I don't think he sounded very smart on this podcast. And there's a number of reasons why. For much of the podcast, pretty much the whole thing, he was using language in a way that was quite accepting and encouraging of pornography. He referred to them as the erotic arts. And throughout the whole thing, there was this great implicit acceptance of pornography. Although he did say he did feel uncomfortable to some extent with the industry that she is in and the work that she does. So at least he was honest in that sense. But I would like to ask further for a bit more honesty. And the honesty that I would ask for is an answer to this question. If Eric Weinstein had a daughter or a sister, what would his opinion be on her being in the pornography industry? If the answer is he would not want his daughter or his sister, pardon me, it's not Corona, trust me. My question for him is, if his sister or his daughter came to him and said, I want to be a pornographic actor or actress, I wonder what his response would be. If his answer would be yes, then I have no problems. I have no qualms at all. He is consistent. But if he was to say, oh no, I wouldn't want my daughter to do that, then I would ask, why in the world would you encourage this young woman to do the same? That's my question. And if it is the case that his family members would not be allowed to be pornographic actresses, I think it is a form of hypocrisy to encourage that in another person. And there was a lot of things that were just quite surprising to me. As the actress, forgive me, I don't know, I think it's Riley Reid or something like that. I don't have it on hand. But when she was talking about her life, I was quite saddened that, from the sounds of it, she came from a broken home, because for some reason, when she was asked if it was a nature or a learned behavior that landed her in the situation that she's in, being a pornographic actress, she relayed her story. She said that she was hypersexual. She said that she grew up in a trailer park with her uncles who were hypersexual. They would bring over strippers, and there would be sex in the house. And in that kind of environment, I'm not surprised that she picked up a tip or two in that time. And I would argue it was before her time. So she clearly didn't come from a home or a background that is a stable, or at least a family with a mother and father in a home. So she admits that has had an influence on her. Now, she makes a comment as well, largely about how society is different to, they talk about kind of civil society versus the pornographic society. And there was the case made that in some ways her world is the more natural world, or her world is the more true world, whereas the civil world, or the normie world, is all about taboo, and sex is a big taboo, and you're not supposed to talk about it or do it, etc., etc. But she presents her world and her life as being the norm, or how it's not taboo, or how it's fearless and not what the mainstream is, and how there's somehow more authenticity to it. But there's no authenticity in pornography. You're paid relative and proportionate to how well you're able to deceive the audience, how well you are to be able to make them believe that you are enjoying what you are doing. That is the whole name of the game. So to present it like it's this normal thing, that it's more normal than what everyone else is doing, I think is just sadly mistaken. And I think she's gone on a few different podcasts. She was been on Logan Paul, and how young people have come up to her and wanting to take photos with her. Their parents taking photos of them together. I think this is, obviously porn is in the mainstream and always has been, but it's obviously jumping borders. You know what I mean? There's this, no longer is it isolated to a certain group for certain people. There's this jump that is being made from the pornographic sphere into more mainstream youth geared audiences like Logan Paul and his YouTube videos, which I think is only an issue. And for young people that want to be inspired, that want to do things with their lives, being exposed to pornography at an early age is not a good thing. I would argue it wasn't a good thing for this pornographic actress, but of course that's my opinion. What else was there? Yeah, that was about it. There's a few things to discuss, so I just wanted to make a few points, talk about it. I like the portal. I like the ideas that Eric Weinstein has, but I think this particular podcast kind of fell short from what he does and what he's capable of doing, in my honest view. His passive acceptance of pornography, or implicit acceptance of pornography, I don't think is a good thing. Maybe he's consistent, maybe he's not, I don't know. But I think it's a bad sign that we're praising and venerating women in occupations like this. And the whole time they were trying to celebrate her as this great entrepreneur, and she's so successful, she's made a lot of money and done a lot of things. But I would argue that those same skills and talents that she has could be applied to any other sphere. She could work in any industry with that same drive and that same motivation, and she would be successful. I felt for her because she was talking on the podcast about her bad experiences with dating, and how she is very upfront and tells it like it is, and tells people what they want. She doesn't give them any kind of chance to question or be left in some kind of mystery. She's very upfront and very blunt. And she says, and the conversation revolves around, in society, having some kind of mystique around sexuality. How a lot of it is a mystery. And I think the mystery is what makes it so enticing. But when it's all out on the table, I think especially for men, it's like, give me a challenge. play some games. But she said she doesn't, not into playing games. She doesn't think it's a good thing. But that's her experience. So she's single, trying to navigate the dating game whilst also being a pornographic actress, and I think she's going to struggle with that, especially in the dating world, because in life you can't always have your cake and eat it too. It's hard to one, be a pornographic actress and to also have a relationship with a man who likely wants to have him to themselves. That's just a reality. So I'm sure she's navigating those things. And I think the problem with this, like I said earlier, is about the contagion of pornography making leaps and jumps into spheres where it wasn't before. And maybe I'll share a little bit later, but the whole thing about pornography is it is fueled by taboo. And there's an article that I read that talked about how the ultimate taboo is a particular thing, so I'll probably do a video of itself on that one, but I was quite disappointed to hear this podcast. I think there's greater potential there, and I don't think we should be venerating or idolizing pornographic actresses. I think we should be encouraging, if of course we wouldn't want our own daughters or our own family members to be in pornography, we shouldn't encourage and venerate others for doing the same. And I think every encouragement should be made for women and men to get out of the industry, to do something different, to contribute to society in a different way. That's what I think is an ideal that we should aim for, and that our intellectuals, like Eric Weinstein, can encourage the same, especially considering his values. On the Joe Rogan podcast, he says that he talks about his Jewish values. I don't know how committed he is to Judaism, but he mentions a yearly custom about how it's important to not sit around and wait. And I wonder how consistent or how close that connection is in relation to values of marriage and sexuality in the Jewish faith. Because I think there's a bit of a deviation there. Anyway, that's it for this video. Tell me what you think. Have a listen to The Portal, Eric Weinstein's episode with the pornographic actress. Let me know what you think. Let's have a chat about it. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.